This week on Sports Paws, the women's rugby team takes on Central Washington. Would it keep its 11-game win streak alive?
And the men's and women's ice hockey teams both hit the road for the weekend. How did they fare? We'll tell you.
And arguably the best moment of the night, we recap for you the top 5 plays of the week. You're not going to want to go anywhere? Sports Paws starts right now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sports Paws. I'm Hannah Cotter.
And I'm Victoria Tigliano. Hannah, I'm so excited to be on the desk with you for your first ever episode of Sports Paws.
As am I. We have a jam-packed week for you, so let's get started.
The women's field hockey team had a fresh face in net to go alongside with its brand new season in the Big East. Sierra Goodwill sat down with goalie Olivia Galini to talk about her season starting in net for the Bobcats.
I'm here with Olivia Galini, the goalkeeper for the Quinnipiac field hockey team. Thanks for joining me, Olivia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you opened your career with a 12-save game against Boston College. What kind of confidence did that give you rolling into the rest of the season?
It definitely showed me that I can be the starting goalkeeper for this team. I love to push myself and be competitive, so coming out with that strong start, I guess you could say, it definitely gave me the confidence to continue out the season with the team.
And then in that same week you were named the Big East Rookie of the Week. What does that mean? How does that feel in such a competitive conference?
It showed me that I belong here and that Quinnipiac was definitely the choice for me. And I didn't think that was ever going to happen, so having my recognition like that was definitely a surprise and just another stepping stone in our season.
And after that shutout you just had against Brown last night, Becca Main said you were the future for Quinnipiac in the cage. What does that mean coming from her?
That means a lot. I guess to make an impact like I am, as my freshman year, I wouldn't expect that at all, but I'm so happy that I am. That shutout definitely felt good, and I think the team as a whole needed it to know that we belong in this conference, and we're going to have, better seasons in the future, and it's just we're setting the foundation for ourselves right now, and that's just another little confidence booster that would definitely get us through the rest of the season.
And what do you think is the biggest thing that you and your team need to work on and able to keep your playoff hopes alive?
Probably just to stay positive and don't ever get down on ourselves during a game. If you make a little mistake, then just fix it the next time. Don't try to get down on yourself too much where you lose focus. Definitely if we just stay strong, composed, and confident, we can own any game that we play, and that definitely showed in our game against Brown and the level of skill that we had against Providence.
The field hockey team hosted number 19 Old Dominion this week and had a 3-2 victory over the Big Blue. Senior Savannah Riley scored the game-winning goal for the Bobcats with less than 30 seconds remaining in overtime. After being outshot 10-2 in the first half, the Bobcats were trailing the Big Blue 1-0, but junior Dana Barlow tied the game after 4 minutes into the second. Freshman goalie Olivia Galini impressed all, making 3 saves throughout the game and had a crucial save in overtime. Head coach Becca Main said the game was, quote, their biggest win in history.
Wow, Hannah, that is quite the quote from Becca Main.
You're telling me?
And her squad is clearly making a name for itself this season. We now bring in Pat Pitts for all things Quinnipiac field hockey. Pat, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So Pat, Quinnipiac took down nationally ranked number 19 Old Dominion last week. Especially having just joined the Big East, how important was this win for the Bobcats?
Oh, Victoria, a lot of people say, it's important, huge. My word is historic. Becca Main said it in her quote. She said this is the biggest win in the team's history. They've never beaten a top 20 team before. So going into that game, there was a lot of, doubt if they could, pull off the upset. But, they in the first half, they didn't look that hot. They were getting outshot. Then the second half, they really turned it on. And they were a whole new team in the second half. And, they came into the game. They lost 6-1 to Liberty. They lost a tough game, 2-1 to Providence in overtime. But then they beat Villanova, and then they come into this game beating 19 overall Old Dominion. It was a huge victory, and it proved that this team can really prove doubters wrong in big games.
So Pat, who are some key players for this team going forward?
Oh, when you name key players, the first name that pops in my head is Angie King. She's one of the best defenders in the league, leads all defenders in the nation with 11 defensive saves. When she plays against the opponent's best player, she really plays them well. She did not allow Danielle Grega to score in that game. She even forced her to, receive a yellow card. Also, Savannah Riley, she leads the team in every, stat, you name it, goals, assists, shots, you name it, she leads it. And then you cannot forget about Olivia Galini, who was named Big East Defensive Player of the Week this week. The whole weekend, she had an 80% save percentage, just 3 players right off the bat that are really going to lead this Bobcats to a playoff contender.
Definitely, Pat. And now Quinnipiac takes on an undefeated, currently #1 UConn on the 28th, a team that's also won the NCAA championship 2 out of the past 3 years. How realistic is a win for Becca Main's team?
It's realistic, but they do have to get by. They face Holy Cross on Tuesday. They're 7-3 all time against Holy Cross. Last time out they played, they won 2-1, and then they play against Temple, and Temple's 2-3 in conference play. They lost to Nova, but then also Temple also beat Old Dominion in overtime, 3-2. So it's really up in the air. If they win against Temple, they have a very good shot at winning against UConn.
Well, thanks for joining us, Pat. The volleyball team hosted Marist this weekend in what would be a huge game for the Bobcats. Let's check out the highlight. So we're going to start off in the 3rd set here. Like I said, huge game for the Bobcats. Marist serves the ball to Quinnipiac, and Lauren Miller tries to save it but sends it right out of bounds. We're tied 1-1. Quinnipiac answers with a nice one over the net, but the Red Foxes' Megan Fergus drops a bomb. Still tied 1-1. Quinnipiac's going to try again, but number 3, Kelsey Ediger, is going to do something impressive for Marist, and she scores, giving the Red Foxes a 2-1 lead. Going into the 4th set now. QU sets the ball to number 15, Jen Coffey. Victoria, Jen Coffey's had a fantastic season this far. Look at that kill. Edgar tried to block it, but she was unable to. Marist serves to Quinnipiac. Pansari assists to Elizabeth Kloos for the kill, sending the game into its 5th set. Here we go again with Kelsey Ediger. She spikes the ball right there. But freshman Alejandra Rodriguez comes in for the dig, and Elizabeth Kloos sends the ball back to Marist. And then they're going to block a spike to score for Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac serves to Marist, where the 2 teams are going to volley for a while here. The 2 teams, I think, are pretty evenly skilled. Let's watch it and see how it unfolds. You really got to respect the volley here.
Wow, this is a long play.
I know, it's eventually going to come back to Quinnipiac's side, and Kat Miller's going to go in for the kill. The Bobcats win 3-2.
After the exciting game, the volleyball team then hosted MAC competitor Siena on Sunday. The Saints overtook the Bobcats in the 1st set by a close 25-23 score. Quinnipiac wasn't going down without a fight, though, and won the next 3 sets, defeating Siena 3-1. Kat Miller sealed the victory for the Bobcats in the 4th set, getting a kill and following up with an ace to give the Bobcats the 29-27 win in the 4th and final set. Jen Coffey led the Bobcats with 20 kills and helped improve her team to 6-17 overall and 8-2 in the MAC.
Fairfield is currently the #1 contender in the MAC standings, remaining undefeated 11-0 in conference play and 18-5 overall. With its 2 wins this weekend, Quinnipiac sits at number 2, now 8-2 in conference play, followed by Marist, Niagara, Ryder, Siena, and Canisius, with Manhattan, Iona, and St. Peter's racking up the bottom 3 spots.
This is clearly a record-breaking season for the volleyball team, so we now bring in MJ Baird and John Franklin to break down this week on BurtCon Court.
Yeah, so I'm John. Hey guys, I'm John Franklin alongside MJ Baird. MJ, we're about to break down some great volleyball action we saw this weekend. You were on the call. Why don't you kick us off?
That's right. Saturday versus Marist in BurtCon Court was just absolutely electric. If I had to put it in one word, I would say electric. It's parents and family weekends. You got parents here supporting these student athletes. They want to see their daughters play, and really, they played very well. John, let's start in the 3rd set.
Oh, absolutely. 3rd set. I was there with you. 24-21. Quinnipiac looks like they got the game in hand. The Marist calls a timeout. What happened after that? You were the one calling the game.
That's right. It really started with a Quinnipiac serving fault. I believe it was Maria Panzari. And as you said, Marist just climbs their way back to a 24-24 game. Remember, we're playing to 25, win by 2. So if you're up 3 points and then you bring it back to a 24-24 game, that's very good by Marist. Eventually, Marist goes on to win the set 28-26, so definitely a turning of the tides there that Quinnipiac would not have expected. Chris Saplinski, Chad Davis definitely would not have expected in the third set. Go ahead, John.
Absolutely. You noted Maria Pansari. She had a rough day at the net. A rough day serving,
Yeah.
into the net.
Yeah.
And, fourth set, Quinnipiac comes back. What went on there?
That's right. Quinnipiac comes out. Remember, you got to go into the locker room after the third set. So Quinnipiac, blowing really the third set, comes back out for the fourth set. They're kind of, looking to get some revenge. That they do. They win the fourth set. But really, all the action happened in the fifth set, John.
Yeah, and you're talking about the action. We're going to take you right to the action. Here's MJ Baird, the guy next to me, and Matthew Cricelli on the call.
Bert Concourt goes silent as Michael sends it over. Vanderbiesen with the set. She sets Ediger there. Ediger plops it just over. Set by Panzari to Kat Miller. Kat Miller off the hands of Marist. Free ball here. Fergus throws it over. Panzari sets Allison Lee. Allison Lee tops it over. Marist still keeping the ball up somehow, though. Ediger plops it over. Free ball for Quinnipiac. Panzari. She sets back Kat Miller. Kat Miller with the kill, and the Bobcats win. The crowd storms the court. Some of the Bobcats superfans onto the court. The crowd goes wild. The Bobcats family stand up. Marist dejected, but Quinnipiac ecstatic.
Now, MJ, you were on the call there. What was the feeling? How could you describe it? The energy was palpable to me.
You know what, John, as I was saying before, electric in Burt Concourt. If I had to put words to it, I would say this might be the most fun I've ever had on a Quinnipiac University Athletics call. It was just so much fun. 14-11 the score. Quinnipiac leading again, reminiscent of the third set. Quinnipiac, they start to lose grip of the game. 15-15, Marist works it back. Quinnipiac does go on to win it. Alejandra Rodriguez with a huge dig. She basically just turns the tide for the match. But John, what an electric fifth set it was. That's all the time we have out here in the Piazza. John, had a good time breaking down some volleyball with you. Hannah, Victoria, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, guys. Great points as always. The undefeated rugby team headed across the nation on Saturday to take on Central Washington, one of the two teams the Bobcats fell to last season before winning the national championship, and the last game the Bobcats have lost in 11 straight games. Quinnipiac jumped out to an early lead in the first half, with Mason Johnson tallying both an assist and a try to give Quinnipiac a 5-0 lead. Central Washington came back, though, scoring 19 straight points in the first half alone, the most a team has scored against the Bobcats since Army at the beginning of the season. The Bobcats were unable to even out the score in the second half, even after holding the Wildcats scoreless in the second. Central Washington went on to end Quinnipiac's 11-game winning streak by a score of 19-12. When we come back, the women's hockey team took on Mercyhurst in a non-conference matchup. Would the Bobcats keep their win streak alive?
And the men's ice hockey team also hit the road, taking on the University of Maine. How would it perform in its first away series of the year? We'll let you know when we come back.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. The women's hockey team traveled to Erie, Pennsylvania to take on the Mercyhurst Lakers. Let's see if it could keep its 4-game win streak alive. In the first match of the 2-game series, Mercyhurst opened the scoring 5 minutes into the second period, with Taylor Accursey netting her first goal of the season. But Quinnipiac would even the scoring 10 minutes later, with Emma Woods receiving a cross-ice pass from Megan Turner and sending the puck into the Lakers' net. But with just 30 seconds left in the second, Mercyhurst took the lead yet again and skated to the locker room with a 2-1 lead. While Quinnipiac was able to even the score again in the third, Mercyhurst took its place back in the lead 6 minutes into the third period, a lead the Bobcats were not able to come back from. The Lakers topped the Bobcats in Game 1, 3-2.
With an impressive performance by TTC Infrano with 2:09 left in overtime, the Bobcats came out on top in their second game of the weekend against Mercyhurst after a scoreless 3 periods. Her game-winning goal, assisted by Melissa Samoskevich and Taryn Baumgard, was the 15th game winner of her career, ranking second in the program history. She also collected her 9th point of the season. Goaltender Sydney Rossman had 9 saves in the contest. The women's hockey team dropped 1 spot in the USCHO poll from second to third after splitting the weekend with unranked Mercyhurst. Wisconsin holds its lead in first place, taking all 15 place votes and boasting an undefeated record so far this season. Quinnipiac takes on 6th-ranked Boston College this coming weekend for the first time since 2013 with a home-and-home series.
We are now joined by Matt McAuliffe to discuss Quinnipiac's split this weekend with Mercyhurst. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So like I said minutes ago, the women's hockey team split the weekend with Mercyhurst. What did you see from that first game?
The first game was interesting, and I talked to Cass Turner before that game, and she said that their fans, they cheer with an angry pride, and I believe that the environment of Mercyhurst definitely had an effect on how they played. It was back and forth, and the third period, the fans just fired Mercyhurst up, and the Lakers were able to take that late game lead, and that's what led to the 3-2 victory.
They were able to take home the W in the second game with TTC Infrano's netting one for the Bobcats in overtime. What was your reaction to that game?
This game was huge. The second game for the Bobcats was a must-win, in my opinion. Losing to an unranked team is not easy, and I was looking for the Bobcats to retaliate, and that's exactly what they did. Their shots were definitely in favor. They outshot the Lakers 26-9 in the second game, and it was definitely back and forth throughout the whole game, though, until the very end in overtime. TT, overtime goal, it was clutch. It gave them a lot of energy, gave them a lot of momentum coming into this BC series as well.
And finally, the Bobcats take on Boston College this upcoming week, a team they haven't played in 3 years. What are your predictions for that game?
So this series is a series that one game is at BC and one game is at Quinnipiac, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects both teams travel-wise, but I think Quinnipiac can come on top for one of the games. I think they'll split because BC is the toughest opponent for Quinnipiac so far this year, so I believe that the women split. It's a 1-1. It's going to be close, it's going to be tight, and I can't wait.
All right, great. Thank you, Matt. The men's team headed up north this weekend to take on the University of Maine. Let's roll right into the highlights, Victoria.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're up in Orono, Maine, and we're going to head straight into the third period where the Bobcats already have a 2-point lead here. Maine takes the puck right into QU's defensive zone and scores on an unsuspecting Chris Truel, cutting the lead 3-2. Later on, the Black Bears are going to slip right past Derek Smith, Tanner McMaster, and 3 others, eventually getting right between the pipes, forcing the game into overtime. You gotta love the extra hockey there, Victoria.
You gotta love it.
But right before overtime, Maine tries to get back in. Chris Truel says no way, and Derek Smith comes in with a karate chop. He definitely should have gotten the penalty on that one, Victoria.
What was that?
Going into overtime, a couple quick passes on Maine. They come from behind, scoring again with the upset, winning this one 4-3.
Quinnipiac then had its chance at redemption in Game 2 on Saturday night. Late in the first period, Tommy Shutt gets the Quinnipiac on the board to make it 1-0, and Quinnipiac's going to get a power play out of this one with Rob Michael going to the box for roughing. In this power play, Quinnipiac's Tim Clifton scores from a Sam Annis point and makes it 2-0 Quinnipiac going into the first intermission. Into the second period now, 5 minutes in, means Blaine Byron scores a power play goal past Andrew Shortridge and makes it 2-1 Quinnipiac. Then with less than 5 minutes left in the third period means Nolan Vesey wide open in front of the net. He makes it 2-2, sends the game to overtime. The Hobie Baker winner's brother evening out the score for Maine. Into overtime now, Quinnipiac's Tim Clifton takes a shot, Kevin McKernan gets a shot, and Craig Martin is there to get the garbage. Quinnipiac goes on to win that game 3-2 and even out the weekend with Maine.
Wow, what a crazy weekend for the Bobcats. With its split against Maine this weekend, the Bobcats dropped down from 3rd to 4th on the latest USCHO poll. North Dakota stays undefeated at number 1, followed by Minnesota Duluth at number 2, Notre Dame rising to number 3, with Quinnipiac and the University of Massachusetts Lowell rounding out the top 5. Coming up after the break, the men's soccer team takes on Iona and Monmouth in 2 conference matches.
And Hannah sits down with indoor track sprinter Francine Jacquet to discuss her emotional backstory about her life before coming to Quinnipiac.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Paws.
In the end, we're here to win a championship this year.
Jess Fontaine now has that. She's going to take a ripper off the post, but she's going to come back.
And my number one, hold your applause, Bobcats fans, is Quinnipiac.
All right, Victoria, you know what time it is. It's top 5 plays of the week.
My favorite time.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. The men's and women's cross-country teams traveled to Indiana for the pre-national invitational this past weekend. The women's team came in 15th of 25 teams, and the men's team came in 19th of 20. Senior Neem Ash led the women's team, finishing 33rd out of 168 total runners. This was Ash's 17th straight appearance, coming in first for her team. Senior Dylan Fearon also had an impressive finish for the men's team, coming in 15th overall and first for the Bobcats. Up next, the Bobcats compete in the CCSU mini-meet on Friday, October 21st.
The women's soccer team hosted Iona this weekend. They come in on a 4-game win streak and 4-2 in conference play. Would they continue that? Let's see. Into the first half, Nadia Gill is going to bring the ball down the far side, gets past not one but 2 defenders, crosses the ball to Kelly Caruso, who takes it down in the box and volleys it into the net. Quinnipiac's up 1-0. Nothing else really happened in the first half, so we're going to take you straight to the second. Jess Fontaine takes the ball down the far side, crosses one over to Nadia Gill in the box. She tries to dribble it down. She trips over the ball. No goal there, but Kylie Lance is going to take one in, saved by the goaltender, and Nadia Gill's there for the rebound. Quinnipiac goes up 2-0. Later on, Quinnipiac now up 3-0, and Iona's Amber Crispin's going to get one past the Quinnipiac goaltender to cut the lead to 3-1 Quinnipiac. Gales finally get on the board. And now Iona's Emily Hansen's going to get a penalty kick, easily scores on the right side. It is now 3-2 Quinnipiac. In the final minutes of the game, Nadia Gill's about to go on a breakaway. She gets tripped. Crispin gets a red card, and this is Dave Clark postgame. And the women's soccer team then hit the road to try and dent Monmouth's undefeated MAC record. After a scoreless first half, Quinnipiac's point leader Nadia Gill poked in a goal 10 minutes into the second half to give the Bobcats a 1-0 lead. Monmouth evened the score with less than 4 minutes remaining in the game to send the match to overtime. Hawks forward Rachel Ross tallied her second goal of the game 6 minutes into overtime to take down the Bobcats 2-1. Quinnipiac fell to 5-3 in conference play, good for 4th place in the MAC.
The men's soccer team traveled to New Rochelle, New York on Wednesday, defeating Iona 2-1 in its second come-from-behind victory of the season. Senior Ryan Scheiderman tied the game up at 1 halfway through, racking up his 10th point of the season. Later on, senior captain James Doig scored the game-winning goal to give the Bobcats their 4th victory in a row, first for the team since their 2014 season.
The men's soccer team then hosted Monmouth on Parents' Weekend. The soccer team is currently 4-1 in the MAC and looking to take the first place spot in the conference. Let's take it straight to the first half. James Droig is going to chip one over to Eamon Whalen, whose shot goes just wide of the goaltender. It is still 0-0. Later on, Monmouth gets a cross here, but Chris Yakovitis is there to punch the ball out of the net, makes a second save on a Monmouth shot, and the ball goes over the net. Great work there by the freshman goaltender. After an Eamon Whalen goal, James Doig is going to get a PK. He gets the goal. It is now 2-0 Quinnipiac. You see a little dab there by James Doig. We'll take you straight into the second half now. Midway through the half, Doig gets shoved down, has to be taken off by trainers. He's pointing to his shoulder here, and he leaves the game with ice wrapped around his arm and shoulder area. Not good for the Bobcats. Then minutes later, Monmouth's Dave Nigro gets a PK there and makes it 2-1 Quinnipiac. But in the 84th minute, Quinnipiac's Matt Taylor is going to get a free kick, goes over them, and it's 3-1 Quinnipiac, and Quinnipiac finishes taking first place in the conference.
Oh, Victoria, that Doig injury is definitely going to be detrimental to the Bobcats for the rest of the season.
It really is. Losing their captain is not going to be good. Indoor track sprinter Francine Jacquet grew up in Haiti before attending Quinnipiac 2 years ago. Her family was forced to come to the U.S. after her house collapsed in the Haitian earthquake in 2010. Hannah Cotter sat down with Jacquet to discuss her emotional story.
A lot of people probably don't know that when you lived in Haiti, you survived some of the earthquakes back in 2010, and you were separated from your family and you came to America. What was that whole process like for you?
Terrible. That's one thing I can say. It was the most terrifying, scariest, like sad thing out of my life. It's hard to describe a lot of times, but within the earthquake, it happened. I was exactly in my room when my house was literally collapsing on me. With my cousin, I lost touch. She was bleeding, almost dying. And then I was not aware where my other family were, like my mom and my sister. And I love my mom to death. We have like the closest bond. So I was just screaming, where's my mom, where's my mom? But she was by my side, like my cousin, like bleeding from head to toe. So, and I was just like, I was so skinny. I was probably like barely 100 pounds, imagine. Like right now, I was about like 5'8" and like that skinny. And she was so much older than me, and I knew I could not let her die in my hands. And she even told me, she looked up to me, she said, go find your mom. And go find your mom, let me die here. And I screamed at her. I was like, don't you tell me to let you die here. And she wasn't just my cousin, she was a sister to me. I was raised, since I was born, she was always in the house. It was like that. And it was a moment that changed my life forever. I'm forever grateful to be here, to be alive, really, because my mother, when I reunited with her and my sister, they told me they spent the whole night looking through dead bodies, trying to find my body because they wanted my body, because everybody knew the way my house collapsed, that they knew that I was dead. My family finally reunited since I was born, really, since I could remember. Amazing. It was weird. My brother, when he was in Haiti, got a full scholarship to study medicine in Argentina. Wow. So we separated for nearly 9 years. Yeah, and my mother, when I left, separated for 2 to 3 years. And my dad, I didn't really know him till I was like 13 or 14. So my family's never really been together. And God bless us recently. I feel this year. My brother is living here now. My mom is here, and everybody is here. So it's a blessing now. It all comes together. That's life.
Well, Hannah, that was a really touching story.
Yeah, and that's not even all of it. The full interview is probably going to be posted on our website sometime this upcoming week. Be sure to keep your eye out for that, because it's truly an inspiring story, and she's a truly inspiring individual.
Well, Hannah, we're coming down to the last few minutes of the show, and boy, did we save the best for last.
That's right, Victoria. The top 5 plays of the week are here, and we have some great clips to show you.
These moments are brought to you by B&D Deli Works, open for breakfast and lunch. Try the Quinnipiac Panini or Q-Dog sub. Hannah, let's get right into it. At play number 5, Quinnipiac men's soccer versus Monmouth. Matt Taylor sends one over the wall, and Quinnipiac goes on to win the game 3-1.
And number 4, we've seen this play before. Freshman Alejandra Rodriguez has an impressive dig and also hits Elizabeth Cluse in the head, but QU, as we know, wins this one 3-2.
Very impressive play right there. And heading into number 3, women's soccer versus Iona, Kylie Lance takes a shot and Nadia Gill's right there for the rebound. Quinnipiac goes on to win that game 3-2. Gill has been phenomenal this season.
For number 2, it was a chilly one up in Orono, Maine, and UMaine's Patrick Shea beats all 5 QU skaters on the ice, tying the game 3-3. We know UMaine wins this one 4-3 in OT.
That was such an important goal for Maine right there as well. And our number 1 play of the week, volleyball versus Marist. Maria Panzari backs a set to Kat Miller, who gets the kill. Quinnipiac goes on to win the game in 5 sets, 3-2. And you can see all the fans coming together. Even the super fans are getting in on that celebration.
That's one thing Quinnipiac has, super fans.
That they do.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Sports Paws. Victoria, it was a pleasure sitting at the desk with you for my first episode.
Let me tell you, there's no one I'd rather share the desk with, Hannah. For more information, check us out on our website at www.q30television.com.
And follow us on social media at Q30 Sports and at Q30 Television. For my co-anchor Victoria Retigliano and all those behind the scenes, I'm Hannah Cotter. Have a good night.